Alrighty. This meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission Meetings YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our first meeting since our August break. Caroline is not with us tonight. Her son's football game was changed to tonight, and it is the first game of the high school year. So she needed to be in attendance. So you're stuck with me.
Let's go Wakefield.
Warriors, does that sound right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
Because
Wakefield.
she said go Warriors in the message.
Yeah, he goes to Wakefield.
I'm supposed to know.
No, she was just calling you a warrior. Like, go get him.
Right, oh, right, yeah. Yeah, and other things under her breath. Okay, so we have at least one guest tonight. We may have others, but let's do a quick round of introductions before we move into our agenda. So if you would like to start by introducing yourself and tell us what brought you to a meeting of the commission, and then we'll go around and introduce ourselves to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Kaylin Cummings. I have been an Arlington resident for 4 years. I recently completed the Wheatley program, and I'm very close to Grace Freeman. So we actually completed that program together back in March. It was time for me to get involved in my community, as this is where I want to live and raise my family and build my wealth. And so what better way to start than at this table and in this room with these women. So thank you all for having me, and thank you for considering my application.
Great, thanks. And you have already applied, if I understood the email correctly. Okay, great, welcome. So Lisa, why don't you start? Just tell us who you are, how long you've been on the commission, and if there's anything else you'd like us to know.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, I'm Lisa. Welcome. I've lived in Arlington for 4 years now, and I joined the commission, I believe, in December of 2024. So coming up on my 1 year mark, but it's a great group of women, and we're doing great things here. So glad that you're interested in joining.
I'm Jinder. I've been with the commission, I think a little over a year or 2 years now.
I think it's more like 2 years.
2 years. And I'm a long time Arlington resident.
Good evening. My name is Janine Finch. I am currently job seeking. I'm just going to throw that out there for the public record. But I've been with the commission for 4 years, I think. Live in the Green Valley neighborhood of Arlington, and I'm really happy to be here.
I'm Susan. I've been on the commission a little over 2 years, just got renewed. And I think you'll find that Arlington is a city that when they say something, they do it. We are far ahead of a lot of jurisdictions. So we're welcoming any contribution.
I'm Marguerite Luter. I am the vice chair, and so I'm sitting in for Caroline, who, as you heard me say, is not able to be here tonight. I am also a long-term resident of Arlington. I'm also a longtime member commissioner, fortunate enough to be a longtime member of the commission, and really enjoy the work that we do. It's many and varied, and you can find out the kinds of things on the website. You'll hear about 2 of them tonight. And, welcome to the meeting. Arbora, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Hi, my name's Arbora. I've been on the commission, I guess, 6 years, right, Courtney, since I just got my reappointment notice. I've lived in Arlington also a long time. My kids are WL Generals, so go Generals. Yeah, I'm very interested in the outreach to the community. I have a couple things to update folks on if we get to it, but also I miss y'all, and I will be there in person in October, I promise.
All right, looking forward to it. Sasha, how about you?
Yes, same as Arbora. I'm hoping to make October, but my name is Sasha Whitney. I've lived in Arlington, I think since about 2013 or 2014. I think I've been on the commission either since 2015 or 2016. It's been a minute, and I am glad to, have all of these amazing women to look up to in different ways. Excited to be here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully, we'll see you next month in person.
Great. Hey, Courtney.
Courtney Sales, Staff Liaison. My title is Disability Resource Coordinator. I'm stationed under the Office of Human Rights. So I just provide the commission support.
Thank you. And Lavelle, now that you've walked in the door, welcome. We have a guest tonight. And if you wouldn't mind, please just take a minute to introduce yourself, how long you've been on the commission, and then anything else you'd like us to know.
Sure. Laurel Langhorn. I think I've been on the commission for a year, a little over a year maybe. At this point, maybe it's been longer.
I think it's been longer. Laurel, you and
Been longer.
Ginger have the same habit of just keeping it at a year, even
That's
when
what I
it's
say.
Here.
Ginger and I came on
Yeah, at the
board
same
at the same time, so.
And did you say Arlington resident?
Yes, Arlington resident, for about 8 years now, yep.
Okay, great.
Jackson on the line.
Oh, Jax,
Can you hear
welcome. Can you hear us?
Hey guys. Yeah, I can hear you all.
Okay. We can't see your face because you obviously have your helmet on. So how about we let you introduce yourself to our guest when you come in the room so she can put a face with, oh, there you go. Okay. All
I
right.
will be there shortly. I had a last second 6:30 meeting, so I'm walking out the building right now and about to hop on my bike. I'm going to be there soon, but I'm Jax. I am a longtime Arlington County resident. I joined the commission 4 years ago. I feel like I keep saying 4, but we're just going to stick with that. And then I have been involved with a lot of our amazing initiatives that, the ladies are going to tell you way more about, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this meeting, like the Arlington County Fair. But I just love the community activity and how involved we are in every sort of range and level of government. It really has become something I'm incredibly passionate about. But nice meeting you, and I hope you enjoy our meeting.
Perfect. Thanks, Jax. Okay, so we have 2 administrative things to do tonight. We need to take a vote on the adoption of our updated electronic meeting policy. You may recall from July, we postponed it to give you time to read it. Courtney sent it to us in email twice. We also have extra copies here. If you weren't able to take advantage of the twice it got sent, does anybody have any questions about it or need more time to take a look at it? Okay, silence is golden. Would somebody like to make a motion that we adopt the annual draft version of the virtual meetings and remote participation in meetings? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ginger is making a
I
motion. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, the electronic meeting policy has been adopted. And while we're at it, is there a volunteer for taking minutes?
Try.
Okay, great, thank you. So if you would capture that we voted on and approved the electronic meeting policy as our first business item, that'd be great. Thank you. After welcoming our guest. The second administrative thing we need to do, we have the minutes from the July meeting, so I'll pass those around so that you can refresh your memories as to what we covered. I don't think we had a chance to send it electronically, so Arbra, Sasha, and Jax, if you need us to put it up, Courtney could do that.
Are you guys, are you able to see it?
I can't see it, but I believe I reviewed them in
I
person.
can see it.
Oh, I can see it.
Attendance, I will tell you what we have for you. We had Sasha, you were absent. Jax, you were in person. And Arbra, let me see. Arbra, you were virtual. Does that
I
sound right?
approve.
Yep, correct.
Yes,
Yep.
that is correct.
We had the guest attendee, Dr. Jamie Beasley, as well as our guest, Helen Haas. Okay. Is there anybody that has any changes or edits to recommend to the July minutes? Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the July minutes? Thank you. Is there a second?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, minutes have passed. So now we're into good things. Let's do county fair first. It was such a wonderful fair. First of all, I personally want to give a big congratulations to Jinder. This was Arbor. You would have been so proud of everything she pulled together. We looked fabulous. Much of how we looked as usual was because of Caroline and all the things she provided for the table and for us. And we'll give her thanks next time we see her in person. But Jinder, you just did a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
Yay.
it. Arbor did a great job in, passing down notes for us to use. Thanks to all the volunteers that were able to show up and help. The engagement was really great. We got a lot of responses from the community. And, there were some individuals, I hadn't quite thought about it, who didn't participate, and I guess, because we had abortion care access, they didn't want to select that as, they didn't want to participate in the whole thing because of that one item, which I thought was interesting. Our sticky notes, I don't know if it was the angle of our table this year. I don't think we got as many responses as we have in prior years.
Although Caroline did put in her email to Courtney and I that she is in the process of
Okay.
writing up the sticky notes. So we'll be able to view that at the next meeting. And
Yep.
she'll also tell us how many there were.
Okay. We did do we used a TV and a computer to do a little slideshow of all the pictures over the years. Thanks, Janine, for putting that together. Appreciate it.
It was fabulous.
And I think we had people stop by because they recognized somebody on the screen. So that was a good motivator.
We did. Thank you, Jenny.
I mean, thank you guys for sitting at the fair while I was throwing a 80th birthday party for my mom.
Lisa came out. Helen, our student volunteer, was there, which was really nice to see. Andrea, Adriana, which is really good. I think that also helped with some of the non-English speaking individuals.
For those of you who don't know, Adriana's application is not to join the commission is in, and she is scheduled. She is in the process of getting her scheduled interview with, I guess it's Maureen? Yes. With Maureen, so.
I think people were really surprised that rape kits were not available in Arlington County and that abortion care access was not available. That was really surprising to them. So, I don't know, Lisa, if you have anything you wanted to share.
Well, just want to echo Marguerite's shout out that you did an amazing job. The table looked amazing, and shout out to Caroline too if she ever watches this. But I thought the stickers were a huge hit. I feel like people were drawn to the table. Candy was a big draw. But then once they saw what we were doing in the survey, they got excited about those things as well. So I thought it was nice to feel like, oh, we've got stickers over here, and then they'd participate. A couple things that kind of stood out to me was some parents would come over to the table with their kids and be like, okay, we're going to do a survey now. And then they're looking at the options with words like abortion and rape in there, and they're with their kid and they don't know what to say and so that was a little awkward. We also had a couple kids come up that's just, running around the fair, and they come, oh, can I do this? Can I do this too? Can I have some chips? And they're like looking at these words. And so there were a couple instances like that, I don't want to say it was uncomfortable, but it was definitely, I guess a little surprising. I wasn't going into it kind of expecting those kind of participants. And then there were a lot of like groups of friends or like couples that would come up and were asking about how women and girls feel about women and girls issues. And we didn't want to like exclude any like men or boys from it, but it's also not really a survey for them. And so that was also kind of interesting observation that I had while we were doing the table. But overall, I think it was a huge success. A lot of people were actually interested in the commission. Oh, how can I find out more? How can I apply? Which I thought was great. And we also got a lot of shout outs, like, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I didn't know this was a thing. And, we just love, that there are people who are working on this kind of stuff in the county. So overall, I think it was a success. So I really enjoyed it.
And if I could just add from my observation, since I've worked a couple of shifts, I think there were a number of people who also used it as a teaching opportunity for their child, which I was very impressed with. So yes, the child was going to participate, but usually mom. There was one dad who also did, who went down and started describing the issues and helping the child make a decision. I mean, the child wasn't making the decision on their own.
Yeah.
Parent was guiding them. But I just said, well, it's great. It's a teaching moment. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do. I thought we had lots of attendance. I will say from a location perspective, we were about the same location as last year. They arranged the tables differently though, and they made it more of a semicircle. And so you had to actually walk. It's like they didn't want to smack on the aisle. So you had to actually walk in or be drawn in to get to the table. Whereas last year, you were right on the aisle, and therefore we could reach out and grab you, whether it was me or Arbor or whomever. We could, take the survey. It's just chips in a jar, that kind of thing. Whereas it was a little bit tougher this year. The good news is Arbора's two daughters were there at various points in times, and they did a lot of that bringing the Arbor. I'm pointing to gender and
Gender's daughters.
Gender's daughters were there at various points in time and did a lot of the grabbing and walking in and telling them who we were and that sort of thing. So it did help us get attendance up. But if it turns out when we compare number of responses to previous years, I'm going to go with, since it's all anecdotal anyway, I'm going to go with the idea that the positioning of the table had as much to do with that as general interest in who we were.
I agree. Our cable for the TV kept getting knocked out, so that was a bit of a pain.
Maybe that wasn't a good idea.
The TV was a good idea, I think.
An excellent idea.
Yeah, it just needed to be securely plugged in. And hopefully we'll get that next year. The menstrual supplies were always a big hit.
Yes.
So, yeah, very helpful.
And to a person, even a couple of people who said they don't like to do surveys, when they found out that one of the sticky notes was name a woman who, you'd like to honor, they raced to it. Everybody had somebody that they wanted to recognize on that sticky note board. So that was
there a name that stood out? I mean, or
Caroline's summarizing the results, so I would only know from the shifts I work. So she'll have that report for us next time. And do you know, so what does she want us to do with the draft tonight? Read it? I'm not sure.
Informational at this time for us.
Okay.
Just to compare over the last couple of years. I guess we don't have that here. We do have that in prior emails. Like our engagement has definitely increased over the years.
Okay.
So
could, from an action item perspective, could we make a plan to read this, since everybody has this now, read the draft between now and the October meeting and plan to come with your thoughts on any edits we would want to make? This is a draft of the letter we would send to the board and what we would publish on our website. And if you have any questions, forward them to Jinder or Caroline so that we can get talking points ready for the next meeting. Does that make sense?
sounds good.
Ginger, were there a lot of young girls there? I mean, middle school to high school. I wonder if we should consider doing something not geared to young women, but something if they want to know what's this, what's that, or just throw out something like on a poster board or something. Instead of explaining
What the topics.
Could I go first?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had this year that I thought was a plus, and I'd recommend Jinder, Arbora, whoever is running next year, or maybe the two of you are co-chairing. We had a sheet of paper where we had a little paragraph. It was just one sheet of paper and it was a 5x8. There was a paragraph on what that action item meant. And I thought it was a tremendous help. There are people who took that away with them because it was explanatory. It wasn't just listening to us. I thought that was a great idea. So I hope we continue that.
Yeah.
And I think that took care of anybody who didn't know what we were saying. In fact, I remember one woman who, when she read it, she said, she looked up and she said, well, I wasn't going to vote, but you mean we don't have rape kits? And I mean, that, reading that in print alone got her, you know, more to the action stage, if you will. So I thought that was a good thing.
Those handouts were great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Descriptions.
We handed those out as people were walking by as well, and that enticed them to come vote. And also we did have a couple of times there were a few crowds and it was hard for people to vote or see what the options were. So those, it helped.
And I think from a perspective of who's in attendance, I mean, it's hard to know. In the shifts that I was there, I saw more adult women than I did middle school women, you know, high school and middle school girls, but I don't know overall.
We had some middle schoolers, high school kids show up.
I don't know if it was enough to say we should change our approach, though.
Well, not approach, but just something.
Beyond what,
Yeah,
beyond,
or just a simple, you know, summary, or these are the issues you'll see in high school, or, you know, you'll have to deal with as you're getting older and that. I don't know if it's our role to do that. I mean, that's another thing. Parents,
yeah, like
you know.
culturally, personally, I'm not comfortable explaining to a young kid
Right.
some of these options.
I think one thing that might be helpful is we had some folks come up to the table that only spoke Spanish. I tried my very best with my college Spanish skills to translate some of these options, but some of these words were not on our vocab list.
No way.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, having a couple handouts or flyers that have the options in
Yeah.
Spanish, just in case that situation arises. I saw some other tables had some translations as well.
Actually, if Adriana joins us, maybe she'll translate some of it for us.
Yeah.
Is that something we could ask the county to help us with, Courtney?
I can ask.
Okay. I know we'd have to probably get it to them.
Way in advance.
Yeah.
At minimum, maybe the descriptive flyer we have of what the actions are. Could have it on the front in
Yeah.
English and on the back in Spanish. So I think-
And it was nice to see, you know, some of the younger girls translating to their parents.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that a number of times.
Yeah.
Question, did you get many names for the woman you admire in the county? I'm very curious about that.
We did. That's what Caroline is still pulling together. So I don't have any of it with me. Or Ginger, do you have anything with you? No. Caroline took it all and said
Okay, yeah,
for us.
that's
She
her
just
thing.
hasn't finished it yet.
Okay. So I wonder if having two questions with sticky notes decreased participation in any one of them, because it was just sort of too much. But anyway, we can just table that till it gets closer to thinking about next year. And I will say that I would love to do this with Jinder as a co-chair. But for the future, it always coincides with taking your kid to college. So that will impact Jinder next year. And then we both have daughters who are currently sophomores. So we'll need someone on backup for 3 summers from now, I guess.
One comment about the sticky notes pads. So I was there, I guess, 3 different shifts, and I personally, I can cover a lot of ground when I tell them what we're doing and what we want them to do, and then after the survey, go to the sticky notes. And more than a couple of times, I missed getting them to the second sticky note board because I was running out of their, I don't want to call it patience. It's not like they were impatient, but I wasn't going to have their attention. That's a good word. to
Yeah.
do the second sticky note board. And name a woman that you're impressed with was so important to everybody that I always did that one first. So I'm guessing that the results from the second sticky note board are gonna seem very thin.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have a ton of names on the name a woman who you admire. But that is not a function of the people wanting to do it. I just think it was a lot to ask.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anything else on the county fair? Are there some more running around the table? I only took one.
Thank you.
And Courtney, you have the draft. Was that in the documents that Caroline sent, which I couldn't see on my phone? So
The draft of,
the county fair readout,
I think so, yes.
because you must have because you made copies of it.
Right.
Could you send it to everyone so they have the draft and can look at it before October, especially the people? Okay, great. So our action items are, everybody's going to read what Caroline's written here in the draft, send questions or recommendations for edits to Ginger and Caroline. And this will be on the action items for October, so we can finalize this and get it off to the county board. Yes, makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So now we're on to legislative priorities. Many thanks to Lisa and Grace for pulling together an output document for us to look at tonight. And thanks to Laurel. Laurel, you also did a report that we have copies of. I've given the report to Lisa and she'll talk about whether there's time to incorporate. And I can share these with everybody, but we're going to turn to Lisa first to give the report. From pink or white doesn't matter. We're going to turn to Lisa so she can give the report out from she and Grace. And then we will let Laurel take us through her report.
Did we want to do the report?
Yeah, the Lisa and
sorry.
Grace document first.
So while Courtney brings that up, Grace is sorry she couldn't be here tonight. She's got a Thursday night class for this semester, so she'll be rejoining in the new year. But what we really focused on for this legislative priorities letter was really taking the results and the feedback we got from the Arlington County survey and really putting a voice behind it that we can present to the county board with very specific and actionable, but also reasonable recommendations for the board. And so the letter is up on the screen, but we focus, the three areas that we focused on were protecting reproductive rights, increased public safety, and addressing the gender pay gap. And that is directly correlated with the three issues that got the most votes from the Arlington County Fair. And so we highlight those three areas in the first paragraph. Then we kind of do a breakdown of the results of the survey, stating which ones got first, second, third, and a brief description. And then we go into each of them. So we, under healthcare, we included the access to rape kits. And then the reproductive care is broken out into contraceptive access and abortion care. And then we have public safety that has a background and the recommendations, and then the gender pay equity with a background and some recommendations. So I can go through each section more in depth and see what questions or feedback everyone has on this, since I believe this is due in September, so I'm not sure if we have until next meeting to discuss.
Yeah, can we take it a section at a time? Because I couldn't read that fast.
Yeah, so starting with the healthcare improvements. So the rape kits in Arlington County, we kind of provide the background of leaving victims in a scenario where they have to travel outside the county to get this care, which is oftentimes time sensitive and also very traumatic, just adds unnecessary stress. And by providing these resources locally, we're protecting survivors' dignity, strengthening evidence integrity, and just setting an example as Arlington County. As Marguerite had mentioned, a lot of people were shocked that this wasn't available in Arlington. And so our actionable specific actions for the county board is designating a Virginia Hospital Center as a certified site for 24/7 sexual assault forensic exams, passing a local legislative amendment requiring at least one facility in the county to offer these services, and then coordinating with law enforcement and advocacy groups to promote awareness of these services and ensure seamless survivor support. So that is the first section on rape kits. Is there any kind of comments or feedback or questions about that?
I'm just curious, when you say the young women have gone out of the area, do you know where, I mean, is it DC? Do they go state?
So on our survey, our survey said that Arlington County sends them to Fairfax Inova Hospital.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we also labeled this one as urgent. In the template they provided, they asked us to clarify which of the recommendations are urgent, ready, or visionary. Urgent being this is something that you can allocate funding to now and get on board right away. Ready meaning that it can be done within the next legislative year, or visionary meaning it might take a few years to get there. So we labeled this one as urgent because we believe, as long as they know it's a priority, they should be able to turn around quickly. So, all right, well, I'll let people kind of absorb that one, think on it a little bit. So the next section, access to reproductive health care, we split this up into contraceptive access and abortion care. So this one is a little more broad than Arlington County. We highlighted, this is similar to past letters that we've submitted to Arlington County Board for previous years. We've highlighted bills from Senator Barbara Favola that protect contraceptive access and abortion care that fortunately got vetoed again this year. And so we explained the bills, what happened to them during the legislative process, and then encourage the county board to support bills like this in the future. And so while this isn't as actionable on a county level, reproductive health has always been one of the top issues for women in all of our surveys. And so we wanted to still highlight this in here and show that it's still important, it's still an issue. Here are the specific bills that haven't gotten across the finish line. And so if Arlington County could voice their support for it in the future, it'd make a big difference. So. Questions or comments on that one?
Do we know if there are any bills that any of our legislators are planning to bring up in the new session? Do we even have a way to know that?
I'm not sure. I can look into it, but I think Arbor had shared Senator Favola's thoughts on these recent ones, and these were the only ones that she had mentioned in a recent newsletter, I think.
I'm not asking you to do more work. I was just curious. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. I totally should know this, but is this us weighing in on what we would like the county to prioritize at the state level?
So, yeah, that was a big point of discussion for Grace and I. Looking at past letters, it looked like it was for the state. It was more geared towards state level priorities. But reading the instructions, It was for like the General Assembly for Arlington County priorities. And so we tried to pivot this letter to be more about Arlington County specifically and initiatives they can do at the county level. And the other commissions I'm on, it seems that they're following that kind of course of action as well, keeping it focused on things that the board can do versus state. But if anybody knows differently, please let me know, because that was what we had gleaned just from email traffic. But this is our first time kind of seeing this, so I could be off.
I didn't read, and I haven't read in depth. I only skimmed the email that came out requesting the legislative priorities. But in the past, it has been focused, and maybe they weren't happy with this, but it has been focused on what are we asking them to prioritize the state doing for them to send into the state. So if you have a mix of both, that would satisfy both items, I think.
Okay, yeah, and that's really what we were trying to target with that section on reproductive health care, since those are state bills and it really needs to be addressed at the state level. So that's why we.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I guess I'm just curious about the rape kits. Is there legislation that could be directed? Like, is it in the state legislature's control to mandate that Arlington have rape kits? Rape kit testing that.
Yeah, and my understanding is that that issue and the other issues we're going to talk about in the rest of the letter, those aren't state legislature issues. We were kind of attacking it more from a Arlington County priorities kind of way. But I don't know, maybe Caroline would have more information on what the.
Are there any other jurisdictions where it's required?
So
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fine to do it this way. I think it is a little bit different from what we've previously done, but our mandate is to communicate what's important to the women and girls of Arlington County. So I think it's fine. If there were a legislative way to include, we should include it. But if there's not for the rape kits, that's fine. And then, you know what, we just repeat it when we're giving our input on the Arlington County budget. I feel like there's no reason not to include these things both times. So anyway, I
do have.
sort of thinking out loud.
I do have one recommendation in the format of the letter. Maybe we could do like two headers. One would be Arlington County priorities and the other would be state legislator priorities, so that they could look for either or. If the focus is to be on the Arlington County things, those are all in one section. And if the focus is on the state, those are all in one section. And just as I glance ahead to Laurel's report, there might be a couple that you all would choose to add to what you already have in the letter. I don't know.
Yeah, and the abortion and contraceptive one I did see was in here. Yeah, so happy to see that. But okay, so then moving on to public safety. So this was the #1 issue voted on by women and girls at the Arlington County Fair. It was won by a lot. So so we reiterated that it was the top issue at the county fair, and stated what it was, investing more in public safety, providing for well-lit streets, sidewalks, trails, and bus stops. So I did some research into Arlington County resources that help support kind of our ask behind this. So there was a 2023 Arlington Transit Strategic Plan that listed one of the geographic barriers to the bus routes having success was that poor lighting at bus stops results in safety or security issues. And then Arlington County actually very recently conducted a needs assessment on the Custis Trail. And like half of the report was on all the lighting issues that they had. And they included a bunch of pictures as well. And it was looking pretty scary. So a lot of the lighting fixtures are damaged or they're just missing from parts of the trail. And this is one of Arlington's most popular trails. And I know I've seen it in the headlines in recent years where accidents and assaults have happened there. And so our recommendation to address this top issue for women and girls in the county is to really follow the recommendations from that report of replacing or repairing those broken fixtures along the trail and making sure there's enough light like under the bridges and overpasses where it looked pretty scary. I wouldn't want to walk through there. And, you know, in the winter, it gets dark at like 4 p.m. And then recommending that they conduct additional needs assessments on other trails like 4 Mile Run, Bluemont Junction, W and OD, because the one that they had for CUSIS was amazing. And then also recommending analyzing crime data to find other areas that could benefit from additional lighting or law enforcement patrols, and then also maybe working with the Parks and Rec Commission or private contractors like they did for the CUSIS Trail to determine other high priority areas, since we don't necessarily have access to that data. So that was the section on public safety. Are there any questions or comments or feedback on that section? And we listed this as visionary since it would probably take a few years to do this research and to replace, you know, everything that needs to be replaced or fixed. But we wanted to include that since we had specifically asked about it at the county fair and it got quite a few votes. It was almost 400 people had voted for that as the number one issue. So any feedback?
That's a change from previous years. It's interesting and sad that women are feeling like that's such a big issue.
Well, and the thing that I thought about that as I saw the chip jars filling up on the 2 days I was there on that subject, we never really touched on it before. It was not a subject that we really had included in our either priorities or this year's focus on action. So maybe that it was always at top of mind, but we were just not opening the door to their comments and thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, good point. I guess we had sexual assault / sexual harassment, which is not the same. Anyway, I'm glad we included it.
Yeah.
All right, and then moving down to the last section, gender pay equity. So noted that again, it was the third most voted on issue for Arlington County. I included the statistic from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics that in 2023, women's to men's earnings ratio in Virginia was only 78.8%, and it actually went down from the previous year in 2022. And so our recommendation is increasing pay transparency through regular collection and reporting of pay data in Arlington County jobs, increased transparency of salary requirements, and then offering flexible work arrangements to support women in the workforce. And so, again, something specific and actionable that the county can do to help address this. And quite a few people felt passionately about it at the county fair. And it's not saying, you know, for every single job in Arlington County, it's just for Arlington County jobs that they have oversight of and is under their purview, but a step in the right direction. So any questions, comments, feedback on this section? If you want to scroll up a little bit to show the intro, yeah, thank you.
Overall, I think you all have done a really impressive job of pulling all this together. So before we turn to a close review of what Laurel pulled together on the legislation that's pending or vetoed or whatever, can you and Grace at minimum pull out the sections that Laurel has done and update your letter to incorporate what you think seems appropriate, you know, that matches? Because in the state section, we have room to put in, just in case it really is both. It's about Arlington as well as what they will say to or do with the state. We have information to ask them to support that we could add to the letter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have the reproductive rights one. Yeah, we just really weren't sure what supporting the state bills looks like at an Arlington County level, which is why we tried to keep it specific to what the county board can do. But we did have a paragraph in there about just general healthcare with the Medicaid cuts, which is mentioned in here at least once. But so we had a paragraph on that, but the paragraph was basically like, this is going to affect everybody. We should prepare for it, but it didn't really say how we should prepare for it. And so we ended up removing the paragraph because, you know, it has a big
Sure.
impact. It is a serious issue, but what are we asking the county board to do about it?
Sure.
And we weren't asking them to do anything. It was, so,
It was commentary more than,
yeah, like
anything
this is a really bad thing that's coming, but
but like you have with the abortion, the two reproductive rights and the abortion care access, you've referenced bills that may come up that we would ask them to support or recommend that the state legislature support. And so perhaps the two that are referenced here, somehow those could get incorporated, maybe. Don't know. If you all could look into that.
yeah, I do know one that I wanted to include that we hadn't because it wasn't included in this year's survey, but I believe it was included in previous surveys. It was definitely included in last year's letter, I believe. But one of the priority areas from last year was LGBTQ plus rights. And I feel like now more than ever, it's at stake again. So I feel like, you know, maybe just adding a little section on there similar to the reproductive health one, just saying, you know, this is an issue
If there are if there's legislation at the state level that we would ask the board to support, then I think we could add it. And again, if you like my idea, Caroline may not like it either though, but divide the state and the county so they know which section they're looking at. What is state support and what is doable at the county? Anybody have any input or questions or edits for Lisa and Grace? They're going to have to turn this around pretty quickly, like in a day or two, because Lisa thinks the deadline is the 15th, which means Caroline will have to do a final review and get it turned in. So,
and I might be confusing that with, I think the one, I think it was August 15th, if we had something about bills that were already taken place. I think the deadline we were just given was sometime in September. So,
well, to rephrase, we don't have until the October meeting. So
thank you.
if you could turn this around in the next day or two so that Lisa and Grace have the benefit of any comment you may have. And then Laurel, I'm going to ask you to take us through the work that you did pulling this together so Lisa and Grace know what to incorporate and what your thinking was on what we might want to highlight.
So my thinking, a couple of meetings ago, maybe in July, I thought there were so many things going on with different executive orders coming out, so many, different things regarding Virginia legislation. Thought it would be helpful to know what was going on that could potentially impact women and girls in Arlington. So just researching what has been going on, I put together a few things, and then I wanted to put some things that we as a commission could potentially do to advocate in some of those areas. So the first section is just about some recent development, things that have been going on within the last, I think, couple months. So the first one was tightening the asylum rules for women fleeing domestic violence. And for these, I also put the impact, so what's happening, and then some of the ways that it does impact women specifically. The second one is one that I think is more local, close to home, was the federal push to undo the trans inclusive school policies in Arlington and beyond. I know we've seen in the news the big push to across Northern Virginia schools make some changes in that area. So for this one, the impact is to transgender girls, especially those with special needs, may face restrictions in using facilities, counseling, or participating in inclusive activities. And then federal funding threats add fiscal pressure. So that's what I thought was noteworthy, something in that area. There's also, I think the fourth one about, and this was just more of a comment, Trump downplaying domestic violence, where he refers to domestic violence incidents as a little fight with the wife. And so for that one, the impact I put was just that these remarks and some of the past policy moves may reduce protections for women and girls facing abuse, especially in underserved communities. And then the next section, I broke it up into the federal executive orders, followed by the next section is the Virginia state legislation. So there, the first topic was the gender and trans rights. The executive order I have referenced here is one that requires basically getting rid of transgender policy altogether, leaving it to one biological sex, male or female, nothing in between. So that I didn't necessarily list the impacts here because my goal with this report was more to highlight what we could do as a commission. If we can, if this is something we could share with the county board, I think that's great too, to include in legislative priorities, that's great too. But some of these things I thought would be areas where we could advocate in and some of the things that we do in the community. The other one was the ban on gender affirming care for minors under gender and trans rights. Then going to education. I know we've all heard about the school content restrictions and the ban on teaching of gender ideology and critical race theory. Another big one is the reproductive rights, and we've already kind of touched on that topic. So of course, that's one, I think we had that on our legislative priorities last year. Gender rights, I think that's an area, of course, I think we could advocate more in when it comes to county level or state level activities. So under Virginia state legislation, going back into reproductive rights, you all probably know about the vetoes that have happened on the bill last year in 2024 and again this year. The right to contraception act has been vetoed, and so we know the impacts to women and girls in that area, and so I think that's an area. The next one is economic and caregiving support and paid medical and family leave. This is another one that was part of our legislative priorities last year. This bill was vetoed, also establishing statewide paid family and medical leave programs. And then the third one under state legislation is the healthcare access and equity, the Medicaid funded maternal support. That's another expansion bill that was vetoed, which would have allowed Medicaid to cover nutritional benefits for pregnant and postpartum women. And of course, that undermines maternal and child health for the state's most vulnerable populations. So that's just kind of what I put together for some of the federal or executive orders and state level things that are happening. And then I wanted to just kind of summarize the impacts, the orders, the category in the next table. And then I wanted to, for the next table, highlight some things that I thought the commission could potentially do to advocate in those areas. So going back to the, paid family leave, I think we can explore local family leave options and raise awareness of that issue in legislative forums. For the Medicaid maternal nutrition support, that bill that was blocked, I think we can also, that's something we can campaign for. We've had discussions previously about maternal health and the impacts for maternal health and inequalities in that area. So I put that on there as an area we can advocate in. And then in some of the other gender equity issues that have gone up. So just a table summarizing how I think we could potentially advocate in that area. So that's just what I put together.
Just threw this together. No,
Just trying to. That's right. We're trying to,
A lot went into this.
Thank you.
This report's amazing.
So just to kind of highlight some things because so much is going on, and I know we do stay local in what our focus is, but there's so much going on that can still impact the girls in Arlington. So I just wanted to put some of those things together for consideration.
Well, between the two reports, I mean, I think we definitely have been more well prepared than in recent history.
For sure.
Yeah, we could update that. But I'm glad you were resourceful.
So I have a question, just because I didn't go through the school system here. So it's my understanding that Arlington public schools already pushed back on the transgender gender identity restrictions. And unfortunately, they're now at risk of losing their federal funding, but they were one of 5 school districts, I think, in the area to push back on that, which is great. But that's the school board, right? Is that a separate entity from the county board, or does the county board have oversight of them? Like, how does that relationship work?
So they're elected officials, the school board.
Okay.
So in that regard, they're a separate entity. The county board can, Arbor, you're probably the expert on this, but the county board can tell them some things about what to do because, for example, their funding is a piece of the total county funding, if you will. And if you control purse strings, you always control ultimately what gets done. But they are independent and do make their own decisions. But the county can give strong recommendations. Would that be the right way to say it, Arbor?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all through the budget, right? That because more than half of the Arlington County budget goes to Arlington Public Schools. But I would say on this case specifically, the county board and the school board are united. And I know that one of the rallies, at least JD Spain was there and probably other county board members. So I would say that the county board and the school board are both standing strong in the face of this pushback. And I think what we should do is just commend them for that and basically sort of say, keep it up.
Thank you. That explanation helps.
Other comments? So I'm going to make a recommendation. Laurel has clearly put a lot of time into this, and it ends with what can the commission do to advocate? And I'm not sure us skimming it at a meeting does it justice. I feel like it should be its own topic at a future meeting where we discuss what she's found and what she's recommending, and is there anything that we want to actually do or take action on or whatever. Now, that said, we are in the midst of doing the legislative priorities. And so Lisa and Grace are going to go through this and wherever it makes sense, pull out what should be added to what we are preparing to send into the county. But I'm thinking that on a future meeting agenda, we should have a further discussion of Laurel's report in the sense of, are we in agreement? And if so, is there anything additional that the commission wants to do? Does that make sense?
I already see.
Yeah, I would second that, Marguerite. And also, I mean, Laurel, thank you for doing this. I think that, our role is to advise the county board, but I think we should discuss this at a next meeting and then definitely share it with the county board, because I think it's helpful to dig in. I mean, we're all alarmed, but I think it's helpful to focus on specifically how women are impacted. And I think the asylum thing is a big deal for a lot of people in Arlington specifically and in the community. So I think it's very helpful to just flag it, to have another body flagging it for the county. So basically, I'm agreeing with you both.
Lisa, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I see things on here that I can add to like the gender equity section about POs, things like that. So we'll incorporate.
Excellent. Okay. So if everybody's okay with that, we will put this on a future agenda. I'll talk with Caroline about whether October makes sense, or do we need it to be November? Arbor and I were supposed to get back to you in October on outreach, but maybe we push outreach to November and we can talk about this while it's fresh in October. So.
Just one more.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
So the last section of the letter about gender pay equity, does anybody know if Maureen Coffey has already done anything with that? Because I feel like when I talked with her to join the board, she had mentioned she had passed something about gender pay equity. So I wasn't sure if I was being redundant in that section, but maybe I'm just thinking about the extra month of paid maternity leave. I'm just making
I
it
don't
up.
know. That's a good
I
question.
wasn't sure if anybody had heard anything about that, but I wasn't able to find.
Barbara, have you heard anything?
No, so I want to say that there already is pay equity for Arlington County positions. You know, certainly there's no overt discrimination based on gender. But I think what we've talked about in the past and what would need more digging into is, you know, what women actually like. What is the average salary for women who work at Arlington County versus men, right?
There's no data that you can go look at to verify whether
Right,
it is or isn't.
right.
an
So
issue.
somebody who has the same job will certainly have the same salary, whether they're male or female. But I think the issue is women tend to be in the lower paid positions in the hierarchy. So we've pushed in the past for more transparency, and I think that's what you're doing, Lisa. So I think leaning into that is good. And I don't think Maureen's done anything specifically. She did on the maternity leave for county employees. I think it was expanded and made longer, and yeah.
And there's really two aspects to the gender pay equity. One is access to the positions that pay well. And it's not just a matter of looking at, do we have the right representation in the categories? It's, you know, how well or easily can women advance to those roles that actually have the salaries that are equivalent to what some of the men have. And then the second aspect is, even if we're doing the same job, which has the same salary range, it's like over time, where are the women compared to where are the men? Because history says that if you go out and do a kind of a compensation survey, women tend to be in the lower range, although still in the range. So from a data perspective, they get to report that the women doing that job are in the right range. But if you look at where the salaries of the women are versus where the salaries of the men are, the men tend to be at a higher point in the range. So, and there are factors that contribute to both of those, but even so, it starts with transparency, knowing where are they, and are they willing to release some of that data, at least in the aggregate, obviously not in specifics, but if they're willing to release their data, then they become a model for companies that are headquartered here. Because we know it's not happening in companies, at least not yet. Anything else on these subjects?
It's a lot of good work.
It really is.
Yeah.
Say, would you say?
Oh, I was gonna say, not for this setting, but if you wanna rage
Gotcha.
chat with me at a bar, let me know.
Yeah.
It's a ton of good work. Thanks
Yes.
to all three of you. And you'll probably be in conversation with Drake before we are. So again, send her our thanks. You all did a ton of work, and Laurel, you did a ton of work, and this is just great.
I was like, no.
Yay, thank you.
We're together.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it sooner, but summer was crazy. So.
Yeah.
That's okay. And then Gender pulls off this fabulous county fair
Yeah.
we had. I mean, we're on a roll, ladies.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. New subjects. Somebody said they had a couple of things they wanted to bring up. Was that you, Barbara?
Yes, so one of them I will table and include it with our outreach. But just as a teaser, I had a conversation with a woman who heads up the Northern Virginia Women's Business Center. And a couple of areas she's focusing on. One is sort of salary negotiation and the whole issue of pay equity. But also the other is childcare and specifically training childcare providers. So she was very interested in what we're doing as a commission. They also offer free classes that are around financial literacy. So I just met her yesterday. Anyway, it was a very good conversation. So I want to follow up. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about at the last meeting, Caroline was looking for somebody to take over the project peace liaison role. And
Yes.
I'm willing to do that. So what do I need to do?
Excellent. Can you just get a hold of Caroline so she can transition to you and notify whoever is in charge at Project Peace that it'll be you from this point forward?
Sure. Okay, so I should just get the contact point from Caroline.
Yes, and I would imagine that an introduction makes sense so that they know
Okay.
official.
Okay. Yep, I will do that.
That's great. Anything else? Okay, let me try to do a quick summary of our action items. So everybody has the action to read the draft of the county fair. We're going to have that on the agenda for the next meeting. And so we'll want to make any changes or edits and additions so that we can get that ready to send off to the county board. Lisa and Grace are going to follow up on the feedback that they got tonight and make a few edits to the letter. Carolyn's got the final approval on the letter. If you also want me to look at it, feel free to send it to me, but I won't. I'll assume you three have that handled. And then we can just look at the final at the next meeting. Send a copy to everybody. And then everyone is going to peruse the great report that Laurel gave us so that we can have a more thorough conversation about what is it, if anything, that we think the commission should be doing based on the impact of some of the actions that have occurred. So that'll be a group discussion on where we want to go. Okay. Caroline has the action. She told us in an email to Courtney and I should say, that she is writing up the sticky notes for the 2 charts that we collected. And so we can fill in the blanks on this draft when she's done that. We can also have further discussion about the women people admire and what, if anything, we want to do about that. But that will have to come in October after we see the list and the discussion. Did I miss any action items? Anybody remember us suggesting something that we didn't capture? Okay, anybody have any new topics, brand new topics that we should be on? Speak now or forever. Yeah. Okay, we have 1 new commission member in the pipeline in her interview stage. So let's hope that by the next meeting, we'll have Adriana. We'll have to learn how to pronounce her name correct. Joining us. And then we have a couple of other guests who are in, I think there was, what did you send us, 5 or 6 applications?
Yeah.
So make sure you read those applications and, you know, if you have some feedback, let us know, but they'll be coming to meetings so that they can make a decision whether they want to go forward with that application or not. And so we'll get a chance to meet them all. Thank you, Kaylin.
Absolutely.
Kaylin or
Yes,
Kaylin?
Kaylin.
Do you spell it Kaylin?
Kailyn.
Okay, all right.
And thank you all for having me. This was great.
Sure.
Of course.
Thank you.
Unrelated to commission news, the Warriors won 18-13, beating the Titans. And Theo was the captain tonight.
Oh,
my
wow.
God.
Okay.
So
She said there was a possibility that the coach was considering him to be captain of the team.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So maybe this was a test, which made it even more important.
Isn't he
for him to
like
be there?
a baby? Like, are they, he's like in 9th grade, right?
Yeah, he just started,
I have no idea.
he
Okay.
just started high school.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this is the freshman team. He's on the freshman team.
Yeah, but that's still exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, from a mom's perspective,
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be huge, but you know, okay. All right, if no one has anything else, then I will call the meeting adjourned at 8:13 p.m.
Team.
Thanks, everyone, and
you.
thank you, Laurel, for taking minutes.